me, which said, Come up hither, and I will show thee things which must be hereafter. And immediately I was in the Spirit, behold, a throne was set in heaven, and one sat on the throne. And of course, the important thing is just to remember about this passage of Scripture that John's being raptured up, and John is a type of the church. Therefore, you can see the picture here of the church going up. And the timing is, it's in one respect, I'm going to give you a few different things on the timing. Historically speaking, it's after the church age because it's after the 3 chapters on the 7 churches, which is kind of interesting. But there's something else there that we'll talk about a little later about the timing of this. So look at verse 3. This is where we left off. And he's talking about, he sees there's one on the throne is what it says. And it says, and he that sat was to look upon like a jasper and a sardine stone, and there was a rainbow round about the throne, in sight like unto an emerald. Now, I'm not a gemologist, and you did a study on it that was really good, and I refer you to that because every time I try to figure out what these colors are, I find something else that says, no, it could be this, could be this, could be, there's one there I'm going to read. It talks about the throne looking like sapphire. Well, sapphire has always been blue to me, but actually the purest form of it, it's clear as crystal. And then the rarest form of it is pinkish, because it's hard to find that one because it's just, and we say contaminant, it's got minerals in it that causes causes it to give a different color. But the jasper and sardine stone in their purest form are both red-brown in color. Now, I thought that was interesting. And the reason I thought that was interesting is because Adam means red-brown, and he was made in the image of God. I don't know. Like I said, I could have these colors all wrong. But in their purest form, they both can be red-brown. Then you combine this with the rainbow of colors, okay, because it talks about there was a rainbow round about the throne. Well, that's your Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, blue, indigo, violet. You're seeing all the colors of the rainbow, but yet it says this. And there was a rainbow round about the throne in sight like unto an emerald. Okay, well, that's my birthstone color, and it's green. Okay, but it doesn't actually say that. It says the rainbow displays itself like an emerald. Well, an emerald, if I can explain this, has a soft yet deep glow to it. It's not a real sharp image, but it's got a deep glow, and it's almost like this is what this rainbow and all these colors are. Maybe they're like melted together or brushed together. It's not as harsh, like God trying to burn your eyes out with His glory. It's soft. Huh? Sometimes Hollywood gets it before we do. I don't know. But, that's how I read it. But then, I could probably find an emerald that's not green, so I don't know. But I do know that, look at Ezekiel chapter 1, where we get another description here. Ezekiel chapter 1, look at verse 26. It says, and above the firmament that was over their heads was the likeness of a throne, as the appearance of a sapphire stone. Now, this doesn't contradict with the other one because this is talking about the throne itself. And upon the likeness of the throne was the likeness as the appearance of a man above upon it. And I saw as the color of amber. Guess what? One of the colors of amber is reddish brown. Now, it can't be other colors, but reddish brown is one of the colors of amber. And I saw the color of amber as of the appearance of fire round about within it, from the appearance of his loins even upward, and from the appearance of his loins even downward. I saw as it were the appearance of fire, and it had brightness around about. And then here's the bow, the rainbow. As the appearance of a bow that is in the clouds in the day of rain, so was the appearance of the brightness round about. Now, if you think about a rainbow, it's softened. It's not sharp, it's blended and softened. And this was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Lord. And when I saw it, I fell upon I fell upon my face and heard a voice of one that spake. And heard the voice of one that spake. And I cut it off right there. Excuse me. Exodus 24:10. Now, when I'm reading this, and you got to understand, I'm not that good of a reader actually in understanding things, but it's almost like he's looking through the deep, because it's almost like he's looking up upon the throne, and he's talking about this sapphire. Remember, I said the sapphire in its purest form is clear. It's clear as crystal. And I found this verse over in Exodus 24, verse 10. It says, and they saw the God of Israel, and there was under his feet as it were a paved work of a sapphire stone. And as it were, the body of heaven in his clearness. Okay? I don't know. If you were to ask what is God's favorite color, you can only come up with two colors. That's blue or green. If you think about the earth and being covered in trees and grass and all that, but then you got the blue ocean. And there may be things. Notice we've got the sapphire, which is usually blue, okay, and we have the emerald, which is usually green. And God's just making things the color he wants them, right? You got the blue sky, like the heavens, the blue seas, green grass and trees. I don't know. We'll know it when we get there, but we're given what we are told is this: it's beautiful. It's mind-blowingly beautiful, and I don't think we'll be disappointed. Verse 4, and round about the throne were 24 seats, and upon the seats I saw 24 elders sitting, clothed in white raiment, and they had on their heads crowns of gold. Now, this is going to take a little time to go through this. If I just give you the standard interpretation, we can move on. And the standard interpretation of these 20 elders is that 12 of them are the patriarchs of the Old Testament, the heads of the tribes, and the other 12 are the apostles of the Lamb. 12 and 12 is 24. And it would even make sense of that. Let me show you a verse in Revelation 21. Revelation 21, and look at verse 12. And this talk about New Jerusalem. It said it had a wall great and high. It had 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels, and the names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. So they're represented in New Jerusalem. Then you have in verse 14, and the wall of the city had 12 foundations, and in them the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. So, I mean, I could just use those two verses and say, hey, I got my proof text. It's the 12 patriarchs and the 12 apostles. Makes 24. You've got it represented in New Jerusalem. Boom, we're done. It's not that simple. Because the Bible gives you a little bit more information about these 24, and it does not look like they're either one of those. Look at Revelation chapter 5, and let's read from verse 8 to 11. Pay close attention to what these 24 elders are saying. Revelation 5, starting in verse 8. And when he had taken the book, and the 4 beasts and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, having every one of them harps and golden vials full of odors, which are the prayers of the saints. And they sung a new song, saying, Thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof, for thou wast slain and hast redeemed us to God by thy blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation, and hast made us unto our God kings and priests, and we shall reign on the earth. And I beheld, and I heard the voice of many angels round about the throne. Now remember what we said about angels, that could represent the saints too? Because look what it says. And I heard the voice of many angels round about the throne, and the beast and the elders, and the number of them was 10,000 times 10,000, that's 100 million, and thousands of thousands, that's millions. So there's 100 million and millions, so there's a lot of them up there. But he's talking about those that have been redeemed out of every nation, tongue, or kindred, tongue, people, and nation. That sounds like church-age saints, is what that sounds like. And the elders are singing the song. Now, the beasts are kind of singing along too, and I don't think they're here, but it's almost an indication that these 4 and 20 elders came out of the church age. You see, look at the timing of this. Chapter 5, and this is chapter 5, verses 8 to 11, is still before chapter 6 of when the seals are open. And I'm getting ahead of myself, but I'll just tell you, what I think is happening here is by the time we get to the middle, the 3.5 year mark, or the middle of the 70th week, whenever that happens to be, when we get to the middle of the 70th week, that's where this takes off. And the judgment seat of Christ is done. Why? They already have their crowns. They're going to cast them before his feet. So I think we're done with the judgment seat of Christ, and we have now. And what have we got? We've got a front row seat to the Great Tribulation. We're literally, like John, picture of the church, we're watching it unfold in heaven from heaven's viewpoint. So I think that timing fits the doctrinal aspect that historically the church age is done, okay? But doctrinally, the first 3.5 years are complete because this is the Great Tribulation from chapter 4 on. That's what we're covering. That would be the last 42 months or 3.5 years. Notice they're singing the Song of the Lamb. Now you'll notice that there are Jews later on that sing the Song of the Lamb and the Song of Moses. Eventually, right now, Israel knows the Song of Moses. It's over there in Deuteronomy 32. But one day they're going to be singing the Song of the Lamb in addition to the Song of Moses. In fact, that's found in Revelation 15:3. But there's a group up there, right after John goes up, he witnesses this group, and they're singing the Song of the Lamb, and I got a feeling we're the ones that are piping up. Like I said, the elders include themselves as part of the redeemed out of every kindred, people, tongue, and nation. The patriarchs and the apostles are all Jews. They don't fit that description at all. Yeah, they're out of one nation, but it's talking about every nation and tongue. Well, that wouldn't be the apostles. They were all right there. Galilee and Judea in that area. The patriarchs, they might have been born all over the place. I don't know. I'm not sure. A couple of them were probably born in Israel, but a lot of them were born in Syria. So this is not the patriarchs and apostles if they were all Jews. The rewards of white raiment and crowns of gold are consistent with the rewards a Christian can earn at the judgment seat of Christ. Now I realize that tribulation saints get crowns too and white raiment. But it's also consistent with what the church gets, church saints. Let me give you a couple verses. Look at Psalm 107. You say, well, who are they then? They might be 24 of exceptional men that served God in an exceptional manner during the church age. Psalm 107:32 says, let them exalt him also in the congregation of the people and praise him in the assembly of the elders. Reference there possibly to these 24. Now turn to 1 Peter 5:1. As Psalm 107:32. 1 Peter 5:1 says, the elders which are among you I exhort, who am also an elder and a witness of the sufferings of Christ, and also a partaker of the glory that shall be revealed. Now, you say, is he referring to that? I don't know. Could he be one of them? He could. You know, maybe Peter and Paul both qualify. I don't know. Hebrews 11, 1 and 2, let me read that one to you. It says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen, for by it the elders obtained a good report. So I can't prove who they are. I can't conclusively prove that it's not the patriarchs and the apostles. It just doesn't seem like it is if they're singing that song and they're a part of that group. Are there some men in the church age that could qualify? Do I think could qualify for that? Yeah. If there's some men I would love to see qualify for that? Yeah. I would love to see Peter Ruckman qualify for that. Because you say, why? Because he was hated so badly. And he was maligned so badly by the brethren, not the lost, but by the brethren, that, and I think what he accomplished, I don't think 3 men could do in a lifetime. In fact, I'm sure of that. There's a lot of great men out there. And I'm not saying there's not one that did more than Dr. Ruckman. I'm sure there probably has been through history. But I haven't met one. In 64 years of life, I haven't met the man that could hold a candle to what he was able to accomplish. The books that he wrote, the tapes that he did, the places that he preached, the missionaries that he raised up, the pastors that he raised up, the evangelists that he raised up, all the years of teaching in the Bible Institute. Show me anybody else that had that kind of workload. Nobody. Okay. And like I said, the timing of this is before the Great Tribulation seals. And I think it's kind of interesting that, because when he's talking about this 10,000 times 10,000 and thousands of thousands, they're singing the song of the Lamb. This is before the tribulation even begins. It's not the post-tribulation rapture. It can't be. It's the church. And we're up there singing. And these crowns, at least the elders are throwing their crowns before the crowns before the throne, and because they have gotten them. So it's too early for any post-trib rapture. It has to be, who else would be there but the church? The picture fits, the timing fits. And I'm glad it's over. Now, I don't know, if in heaven there's no time, this judgment could seem like an awful long time. If it's based on 3.5 years or approximately that, it'll be over pretty quick, as far as I'm concerned. But Lord's got a lot of folks. I mean, 10,000 times 10,000, there's at least 100 million, and then there's thousands of thousands. Millions on top of that. And, I mean, I hope there's a billion. I don't think I don't know if there is a Greek word for billion. There wasn't a Greek word for million. I don't think. Now, it might be now, but I don't think there was then. That's why they called it, they just multiplied the thousands. Anyway. Let's see here. All right, verse 5. And out of the throne proceeded lightnings and thunderings and voices, and there were 7 lamps of fire burning before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of God. You can see why I can't rush through none of these. Every verse we go to, there's like 4 or 5 different elements that we got to talk about because we haven't ever discussed them, or at least not recently. This thing that John sees where there's lightning, thunderings, and voices, evidently that's an extremely frightful thing to experience. Look at Exodus chapter 20. Exodus chapter 20. Look at verse 18. Verse 18 and 19. Exodus 20, verse 18 and 19. And all the people saw the thunderings and the lightnings and the noise of the trumpet and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed and stood afar off. And they said unto Moses, Speak thou unto us, and we will hear, but let not God speak with us, lest we die. It's like they saw, I mean, they're seeing this mountain smoking, and all of a sudden there's thunder and lightning and voices, and they're just backing up and getting away. You know, a lot of folks are anxious. They just want to get right up there. I think when we get there, it'll be a fearful sight. Revelation 11:19 says, the temple of God was opened in heaven, and there was seen in the temple the ark of his testament, and there were lightnings and voices and thunderings and an earthquake and great hail. There seems to be some violence going on every time there's noise coming from the throne, you know. Revelation 16, verse 17, 18, and the seventh angel poured out his vial into the air, and there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne saying, it is done. And there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such as what not since men were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake and so great. So probably 10 or better on the, I mean, it literally levels any city, every city. All the major cities, it levels them. You talk about God shaking the earth. I mean, he's letting them have it. And all the while, what I want to talk about is voice. I understand lightning and thunder. I understand that. It's voices, not voice. Voices. What is going on? Every time, voices. You say, what is that? I think it's God having a conversation with himself. He's done it before. In Genesis 1:26, and God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. Well, who's he talking to? I think he's talking to himself. Don't act like you don't have conversations with yourself. You do all the time, right? Don't you scold yourself, praise yourself, feel sorry for yourself? I mean, God's got the ability, like I said, he's got the ability to manifest himself as Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Why can't he have a conversation? And who better to talk to than yourself? Well, some of you might not agree with that. You might have difficulty with yourself. I don't know. Anyway, so it's a possibility. I mean, the voices there are the voices coming from the throne, and it's not voices around it. It's yeah. Well, you know, he's telling himself, I think he's telling himself, this is what we're going to do right now, and this is what's going to, and we're just like, I imagine, you know, maybe we're not running out of the throne room, but I'll bet we're backing up. And there's one passage there that says that they fall to his feet like they're dead, as if they were dead. Just hit the ground, man. That's going to be some glory to behold. Now, he mentions these seven spirits of God, and they're described, if I have this right, they're described two ways, as eyes and lamps. And what you find is they're the same thing. Revelation 5:6. And behold, lo, in the midst of the throne and of the four beasts and in the midst of the elders stood a lamb as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes. Okay? Which are the 7 spirits of God sent forth unto all the earth. So these are the 7 spirits that are mentioned here in verse 5, right? So the answer is really simple. First I thought, oh no, how am I going to reconcile that? I thought, oh, duh. His eyes are lamps of fire. That's why there are 7 lamps. Revelation 1:14, his head and his hairs were white like wool and as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. Now, if there's 7 eyes, and I don't know how to explain all this, we're going to find out there's some situations in heaven we're going to be seeing some creatures, and yeah, it's going to be different. I mean, you can see some weird stuff down here, and it seems like they keep finding, I mean, some crazy stuff. I mean, really weird-looking stuff, you know. Well, in heaven, you're going to see some weird-looking creatures that God created. And we're going to be talking about them here in just a few minutes. But These seven spirits are about spiritual vision, because they're listed in Isaiah 11, verse 1 to 3. So not only are they seven eyes and seven lamps, but they're seven spirits, and these seven spirits represent seven things. Isaiah 11:1, it says, "And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots." And here let's count them. The Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, that's one. The Spirit of wisdom, that's two. And understanding, that's three. The Spirit of counsel, 4. And might, 5. The Spirit of knowledge, 6. And of the fear of the Lord, 7. Those are the seven spirits. "And shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of the Lord, and he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither reprove after the hearing of his ears." And this is interesting. It's about what you're able to perceive spiritually. This is spiritual vision. In Matthew 22:18, it says this more than, it probably says this a dozen times. "But Jesus perceived their wickedness and said, 'Why tempt ye me, ye hypocrites?' In Mark 2, verse 8, "And immediately when Jesus perceived in his spirit that they so reason within themselves, he said unto them, 'Why reason ye these things in your hearts?'" So these spirits, or this spiritual vision that you got, is able to see in the hearts of people, discern what's in their heart. And he had all these. What's interesting to me is some of these are mentioned as gifts in 1 Corinthians 12. And maybe that's just the Lord giving you a little bit more of that spirit. You know, the spirit of knowledge, the spirit of wisdom. He mentions the spirit of might. I don't know what that could be. Maybe that's healing. I don't know. But he gives us the abilities, and these abilities are spiritually, are the manifestation of the Spirit, according to 1 Corinthians 12. So maybe he's connected with this. All right, verse 6. "And before the throne there was a sea of glass like unto crystal," and we've already talked about that. We're not going to go back over it. "And in the midst of the throne, around about the throne, were 4 beasts full of eyes before and behind. And the first beast was like a lion, and the second beast like a calf, and the third beast had the face as a man, and the fourth beast was like a flying eagle. And the 4 beasts had each of them 6 wings about him, and they were full of eyes within, and they rest not day and night, saying, Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty, which was and is to come." And you can see why I can't rush through that. Not even talking about the sea of glass, what would take about 20 minutes. What these beasts are cherubim. They're cherubim. And they're described in Ezekiel chapter 1, Ezekiel chapter 10. Some things that just to say about them, they have the likeness of a man, and in that they have 2 arms and 2 legs. Okay? Now, that's verse, you can turn to Ezekiel 1, because we're going to be reading some verses out of there. Ezekiel 1, and I'll read verse 5. It says, "Also out of the midst there came the likeness of 4 living creatures. And this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man." Okay? Well, the only thing I can find that's like a man is the fact that they got 2 arms and 2 legs. And we're going to find that that not even all of that would have been human looking. Each had 4 faces. You got the lion, the calf, the eagle, and the man. 4 faces. Now, think about this. And you say, well, what are these beasts? I think they're like a sentinel. They're like a glorified, pimped out taxi cab for God, because they can move that throne. They don't have to look. They're looking in all 4 directions, and that throne just gets picked up and wherever he wants to move it. And I guess the sound of it's like many waters. I mean, it's. You say, why did he do that? Because he could. You know, because It's interesting that a lot of they cover some things. Now they don't cover fish, but just about everything else. You've got the lion represents the wild beast, the calf represents the domesticated beast of the field, the eagle represents the birds, and of course you have man. Now there's one particular missing here. We're going to find out is covered. Okay. But let me read you Ezekiel 1:5. And everyone had 4 faces, and everyone had 4 wings. And we're going to find out there's something contradictory about that. Ezekiel 10:14, and everyone had 4 faces. And the first face, Ezekiel 10:14 gives you this description. And everyone had 4 faces. The first face was the face of a cherub. And that's very important. So which one's the face of the cherub? Is it the eagle, the lion? Is it the man? Or is it the calf? Because that defines what a cherub looks like, or at least the face of a cherub. The second face was the face of a man, and the third, the face of a lion, and the fourth, the face of the eagle. So you know which one it is now. It's the calf, which explains tons when you're going through your Old Testament. Think about Aaron's golden calves. That ain't an accident, man, that it's a golden calf. Jeroboam's golden calf that caused Israel to sin, that's not a coincidence that it's a calf. Baal worship, the word Baal means bull. Now we call them cowboys. I don't know. Anyway, it's interesting when the Pope wants to send out something, he calls it a papal bull. Interesting. This cherub, one of the cherubs, the fifth one, because there's more than 4, there's 5. And it's the 5th cherub that's fallen. So when he wants Israel to worship something, he worships the face of a cherub, calf. It's devil worship, plain and simple. Ezekiel 1:6 and verse 18 says 4 wings. 4. Yet Revelation says 6. And I think if I'm not mistaken, I think seraphim have 6 wings. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. I didn't check it. I meant to, and I forgot to. But when you're reading the description of them, it's the same. They're cherubim. So why does one say 4 and one says 6? And Dr. Ruckman is the one that had the answer to it. In one account, they're standing still in the book of Revelation. In the other account, they're in motion. And that matters because something else gets added here. Ezekiel 1:14 to 16. And I need to read that. It says, and the living creatures ran and returned as the appearance of a flash of lightning. Quick cab. Now as I beheld the living creatures, behold, one wheel upon the earth by the living creatures with his 4 faces. The appearance of the wheels and their work was like unto the color of a beryl, and they 4 had one likeness, and their appearance and their work was as it were a wheel in the middle of the wheel. So what's going on there? Looks like it's 2 wings. Okay, you ever see a fan blade? When it gets spinning real fast, what does it look like? Huh? Yeah, it look like a wheel backwards. I know it does. Yeah. Now imagine 2 of those wheels in perfect synchronization, almost like a gyroscope. In fact, there's rings located. I have no idea how to describe it. We'll get to that in a second. So 2 of the wings are covers their face, and 2 covers their body, and 2 are working. And they're spinning so fast it looks like 2 wheels, or it looks like a wheel within a wheel for each one. Which, I'd have to see it. Okay, I'll give you a good example. A hummingbird. You ever seen them? I mean, those wings are moving so fast, it looks like it's moving in a circle. Anyway, one thing about something is moving like a gyroscope, just a little variation and sends it in one direction or the other. Up, down, side, I mean, incredible. Anyway, I don't know if it's a gyroscope or not, just an observation. Yeah, because in Ezekiel 1:17 it says, when they went upon their four sides, and they turned not when they went. You don't have to turn this thing. It just, I mean, whichever way, you know, I'm sure God is just as comfortable in reverse as he is going forward. So these guys, they don't need a rear view mirror. I mean, they can see behind them, so to the side of them. Can't sneak up on them. And I haven't even gotten to the part of how, that when he created these, I mean, he mentions over there about the fallen one that he was made without fear. I think they were all made without fear. I don't think these cherubim afraid of anything. I don't think they possess it. Which makes me think of a sentinel or a guard, or I don't know what you want to call it. But you say, why does God need that? I don't know. Just wanted that. Why does he want us? Why does he set his heart upon man? You know? It says they're full of eyes, though. Okay, full of eyes. So if you count the set that's on each face, that's 8. But there's more than that. Ezekiel 1:18 says, as for their rings, they were so high that they were dreadful, and their rings were full of eyes round about them 4. So I don't know. So this thing's just got eyes everywhere. It mentions that they have hands like a man, but they got hooved feet. That's why them cowboy boots are like they are. Anyway, Ezekiel 1, verse 7 and 8. I'm just trying to get a rise out of some of you. Ezekiel 1, verse 7 and 8. And their feet were straight feet, and the sole of their feet was like unto the sole of a calf's foot. Hoof. And they sparkled like the color of burnished brass. And they had the hands of a man under their wings on their 4 sides, and they 4 had 4 faces in their wings. And they 4 had their faces and their wings. So, 6 wings, 4 are, it looks like 4 are always against the body, and then 2 of them can be working, So let's talk about the 5th one, the 5th cherubim. Because he's not at any corner. They've already got the throne covered. The 4 that exist right now, that are up there right now around that throne, have all 4 sides of that throne covered. But that's not where he was. They didn't get a replacement to fill in for him. He was above it, which is strange to me, but he was. God positioned him as a created being to do him service and put him over top of him. You think, yeah, it just kind of fed into the ego, didn't it? Ezekiel 28, turn there. Huh? Oh, Ezekiel 28, verse 12. Oh, you guys are, that's right, you're reading Ezekiel now, aren't you? Son of man, verse 12. Son of man, take up a lamentation upon the king of Tyrus. Remember how these angels could represent kingdoms and kings. And say unto him, thus saith the Lord God, thou sealest up the sum full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. Let's talk about him in his original creation. Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God. He may have been the first. Now, that's based upon, here's the funny thing about this. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. I mean, the earth has been scrapped, yet not only God knows that exact location where Eden was, I believe the devil does. I believe it was a completely different situation, though. I don't even think it was botanical. I think it was all geological. I mean, what does an angel need with a fruit tree? I think it was all. And the reason I say that, it says, thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God, every precious stone was thy covering. Now here's where I don't think he was made with these stones on him. I don't think God put them on him. I think he put them on. Because I think the light that he puts out is just that, like an incandescent light bulb. White light. God doesn't put all, his glory is not white light. It's the whole spectrum of light. So what happens when you're putting all these gemstones of different colors, blue and green and red, it changes your glory, doesn't it? You see, he wanted to be like the Most High, according to Isaiah 14. And I think that's the first step right there. He hung those precious stones on him because his name means, Lucifer means light bearer. And I believe he was trying to change his glory because God gave him his own glory. And he was trying to change his glory into God's glory. And I think this may have had something to do why some of these angels fell for it. Strange thing, I know. But I don't think we understand the power we're talking about here. Every precious stone was thy covering, the sardius, the topaz, the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, the carbuncle and gold, the workmanship of thy tabrets. Not only is he beautiful looking, but he's musical. And of thy pipes were prepared in thee in the day that thou wast created. So he is a created being. Thou art the anointed cherub that covereth. And it doesn't say that about the other cherubs that they're anointed. This one is. This one is a king. And I believe he was made king over the kingdom of heaven. I believe that the Lord put him over the earth and said, rule it. And the reason I think that is because in Isaiah 14, he's having to ascend. I will ascend. I will exalt my throne. Well, where's his throne at? He's got one. Where could it be? Right next to God's throne? I don't think so. That throne's on earth. He is ascending from earth into heaven. He says, and I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. He talked about ascending above the stars. I think he's in reference to the angels there. He wants to get up there. He says, I will be like the Most High. Couldn't be greater than God, but he wanted to be equal to him. Thou art the anointed cherub that covereth, and I have set thee so. Thou wast, past tense, upon the holy mountain of God. Thou hast walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire. Thou wast perfect in thy ways from the day that thou wast created till iniquity was found in thee. By the multitude of thy merchandise. He's all about material things. In fact, he's all about land and real estate. By the multitude of thy merchandise, they have filled the midst of thee with violence, and thou hast sinned. Therefore I will cast thee as profane out of the mountain of God. I do not believe he has access unless he is called to come into the third heaven, which means he's up there above our heads. He says, I will destroy thee, O covering cherub. Why? He covered the throne. That was his place till he fell. I will destroy thee, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. Okay. We're going to... Could be. Yep. Could be. I have one last note here. Because the last part of that verse, let me turn to it. When he says, they rest not day or night, saying, Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty, which was and is to come. You have a threefold doxology. That's glorify. Doxology is to glorify something. It's a threefold doxology glorifying the Trinity, because you have holy, 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 Lord God Almighty, which was and is to come. And if a JW misses that, he's as blind as a bat. Okay. Oh, and Satan represents the reptilian class. He's turned into a great red dragon, a serpent. He represents the reptilian class. Okay. Not that he looked like that originally. Evidently, he was pretty beautiful. I don't know. Maybe he had those eyes, though. I don't know. Anybody got a question or comment? What we covered? We almost got through the chapter, but we still need a little bit more time.